All right, this recording is about how to find the least common denominator of two fractions and then convert both those fractions into the least common denominator. And then I'll explain a little bit about why would we want to do that. All right, so let's start out with two fractions. All right, I have 7, I need a color that's not black. I have 7/12 and I have 8/15. When I say least common denominator, the least common denominator is finding the least common multiple of 12 and 15. All right, so we would say the least common denominator equals the LCM of both denominators. So our denominators are 12 and 15. And I'm just going to put denom. So 12 and 15. Sometimes with small numbers, it's easier just to list them. If it's a big number, you might want to find your factor tree, use your factor tree method to find the least common denominator. But I'm just going to list because I know the multiples of 12 and 15 pretty well. So I have 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60. Well, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, I know that 15 times 4 makes 60. So right here we have our least common multiple of these two numbers. The next step, what you need to do is say, all right, I want to turn my denominators into the same number. Why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes you might need to compare fractions and say which one is bigger. And eventually we're going to end up adding and subtracting these fractions, and you can't do that without the same denominator. So we have 7/12, and we said that 5 times 12 makes 60, right? So we're going to say, all right, we're multiplying it by some number, so our denominator ends up being 60. Now, if we multiply the 5 by the bottom number, in order to keep our fraction the same, to keep it an equivalent fraction that represents the same amount, we have to do the same thing to the top. So you figure out what you want to do to the bottom to get our least common multiple, and you do the same thing to the top. So 7/12 is the same as 35/60. Next one, we turn our other fraction into 60th. So 8/15. Well, something times something over something is going to equal something with the denominator of 60. Well, I know 15 times 4 makes 60, and what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top to keep the fraction the same. So I do 8 times 4, 8 times 8 is 16, 16 times 2 is 32. Now we can say easily, well, they're very, very close fractions. Oop, that was wrong. I meant to write 32. They're very close fractions, but we see that 7/12 is the bigger fraction. Let's try another. So here's our next problem. We're given several fractions, and it says write in order from least to greatest. We have 15/28, 7/14, 3/8, and 5/7. What we're looking at here is our denominators. We have 28, 14, 7. Well, I know these three numbers. 7 times 4 makes 28, 14 times 2 makes 28. So we need to figure out kind of what to do here with the 8 and the 28. Find the least common multiple of those. Well, I'm going to start out with a factor tree. I'm going to say 28 and 8. Well, 28 is 7 times 4. All right, that's prime. 4 is 2 times 2. 8. Well, it's really just 2 times 2 times 2. All right, that's a shortcut factor tree. Then we found our least common multiples. First, we find the friends. They both have a 2. They both have a 2. Right? Then we multiply it on the leftovers. We have a 7 as a leftover, and we have a 2 as a leftover. So I multiply another 2 and another 7. So the least common multiple of these three numbers is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And 8 times 7 is 56. So what we're going to need to do to all these fractions is turn them into 56ths. All right? And we did that by saying, all right, I know that 14 and 7 are factors of 28. It's easy to turn into 28, so what we need to find is something that we can multiply to make 28 and 8 have the same denominator, and we found out that's 56. So we need to turn all these into 56. All right. Well, let's start with the easy one, 5/7. All right, we know 7 times 8 makes 56. So we're multiplying the top and the bottom times 8 to make our new fraction. And our new fraction is 40/56. All right, here's our first fraction. Next one, 3/8. Well, 8 times 7 yet again, so we need to multiply it by 7/7 makes 56. So this fraction becomes 21/56. So there's our second fraction. Oh, that one's right here. Third fraction, 14. What in the world times 14 can make 56? Use your calculator. Do the opposite. Do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. Say 56 divided by 14 is what? I now know that 4 times 14 makes 56, so we're going to change our fraction. 7/14 times 4/4 equals 56. All right, well, 7 times 4, 7 times 2 is 14. We get 28/56. And last one. Well, we can do the reverse operation again. 28 times what makes 56? I don't know. Let's do 56 divided by 28, and we get 2. So this fraction, we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. 15/28 times 2/2 makes 30/56. So here are our new fractions. They all have the same denominator, so it's very easy to see which one is the biggest. It says write in order from least to greatest. Well, let's use a new color so it doesn't get so confused. The least one is the least 56. That's 21/56. So we know that 3/8 is our smallest one. Okay, the next smallest one is 28/56, and the original fraction was 7/14. So we're going to write that one next. All right, the next smallest number is 30/56, and the original fraction was 15/28. And the last fraction, the biggest one, is 40/56, which is 5/7. And there we have got it. It's a long process. You have to figure out what your least common multiple of these and convert all your fractions. But that is the best way to see which one of these is the biggest.